I, 35 male, was married to my ex-wife, 34, for 7 years. 2 years ago, my ex-wife came out as a lesbian. This came as a complete shock to me. She and her partner were co-workers who had an affair since she joined the company a year before our divorce. We have a son together, pre-tween. This came as a complete shock to me. I was heartbroken and devastated. I felt betrayed as I'd spent 7 years with this woman and it all felt like a lie now. When I confronted her, she told me that she had to live her truth and that she tried to suppress her identity because she didn't come to terms with it until she met her partner. When I asked whether she loved me, she told me that while she loved me, it was different than how she loved her new partner. The divorce was quick as she didn't want anything from me and we agreed to a 50-50 split of custody, but I decided to go no contact with her. I handled the custody transfer process through my sister, 27, with whom I moved after the divorce. I sold the house and we mutually agreed that the excess money from the sale would be in a college fund for our son in the future. I couldn't bear to stay in that house anymore as it kept reminding me of her betrayal. For context, she introduced her partner as her work friend and I believed her. I had no reason to suspect anything and they had several girls' nights, but I figured that they were probably using these as cover for the affair. For 6 months I was in a depressive state because I didn't know where I went wrong. The two people who got me through this state were my sister, to whom I'm eternally grateful for helping with her nephew and helping me while maintaining her career. The other person that got me through this was my college ex-girlfriend. Around 4 months after the divorce, we reconnected at a reunion and she really helped me through the worst of it as a friend. Around a year after the divorce, we started officially dating and I introduced her to my son. During all this time, my ex's partner had limited interactions with my son. This wasn't because I said anything, but because my ex-wife wanted him to adjust to his new reality. My son is at that weird age, and he understands what's going on, but doesn't really understand what's happening. If you know, you know. He understands that mommy has a girlfriend and that me and his mom are not together anymore. I'm happy considering we didn't really talk to him about the LGBTQ+. It's not my fault it didn't come up in day-to-day. My son was a young grammar schooler when the divorce happened. I'm not actively trying to discuss LGBTQ matters with a young grammar schooler. No one in my family or my circle of friends is gay. That's not my fault, is it? It never comes up in our lives, and when my ex came out, it was the first time it actually mattered in our lives. Around 8 months ago, my ex said she was officially moving in with her partner and was engaged. At this point, I was still no contact except for brief conversations that concerned our son. She invited me to the wedding, but I declined. They were planning a destination wedding in Spain where her girlfriend lives. She wanted to take our son to the wedding and he would have to miss school for a week since she also wanted him to meet her girlfriend's family. I told her that missing school for a week does not make sense and that she should plan her wedding when he has a vacation, since she doesn't have a fixed date yet. She argued that most likely they won't have a date that will align with his vacations and that they are getting married as soon as possible. I relented and agreed since I didn't want to interact with her anymore and it was well within her rights to have her son at her wedding. The problem started when my son came back after the wedding. He was supposed to stay with me since we have a flexible week-in, week-out custody arrangement. She wanted to take my son on her honeymoon so that he would have a chance to bond with his new stepmother. She argued that since our son's interactions with her partner were limited because of her busy schedule, this was a great opportunity for them to bond. She kept arguing, and I finally told her that the custody was placed for a reason, and that's the one thing I would not negotiate on. She got angry at me and left. My son and I had a great experience. I even got him one of those kid-sized motorcycles since he liked them so much. Over the next few weeks, we returned to our week-in, week-out routine. One day, I found that my ex posted a photo shoot of them and my son under a caption of #lesbianmommies. I thought that it was just a post and it probably meant nothing, but it was showing them as a family, and something about that did not sit right with me. When I got my son for the week, I asked him if his mom was saying anything to him. He relented but told me that his mother had been trying to convince him to call her partner his mom. I asked him if that's something he wanted, and he told me that he's much more comfortable calling her by her first name and that he feels weird calling two people mom. I told him it was okay and that he shouldn't feel pressured to do anything. I called my ex and asked her to meet up because this was serious and I wanted to discuss it. I confronted her about this and she told me that since she and her partner were married, it's only natural for our son to have two moms now. I told her that it's not okay for her to try and convince him to call her partner his mom because she's not his mother. She doesn't have an active parenting role in his life and that any major parenting decisions require the two of us. She tried making an argument that since my girlfriend and I were becoming serious now, I might eventually want him to start calling her mom. I told her that even if we became serious, I wouldn't try to convince our son to start calling her mom because he already has 2 parents and doesn't need more. Then she dropped the bombshell on me. She told me that she and her partner were hoping that eventually down the line they could file for adoption. I'd still be able to visit and see my son, but she wanted her and her wife to have legal guardianship because they wanted to build a new family with them. I told her that our partners have no say in our kids' lives. She accused me of being homophobic for denying her the right to a complete family, and I told her that while her life is her choice, our son's life has to be a thing that we decide for ourselves. I ended the conversation there and told my son to tell me if his mother tried to force him to do anything that he didn't want to do. 3 weeks later, I found out that my ex had enrolled him in Spanish lessons, and he told me that he hated doing it. For context, my ex is Latin and her partner is Spanish, so they're more comfortable talking to each other in Spanish. When I discussed this, she told me she would like her son to connect more to his heritage. I said I didn't have any problem with that, but we'd tried this several times before when we were married, and he'd shown zero interest in it. She told me this time might be different since he will have 2 Spanish speakers at home. I told her that I'm all in favour of bilingualism because 2 languages are always an advantage, especially for kids. But if he doesn't want to do it, there's no reason to force him to do it. Maybe try another language. She then accuses me of denying our son his roots. She goes on a tirade of accusing me of denying our son his identity and coming back to me denying her right to a family. My girlfriend usually stays out of these matters, but she advised me to contact my lawyer and see what they can do. My lawyer told me that even if they send an adoption notice, I can contest it, and it would take something exceptional like abandonment, etc. for my contest to get rejected. My ex keeps posting our son as part of her new family, and it's honestly started to trigger me. 2 weeks ago, I interacted for the first time with my ex's new wife after the divorce. She contacted me and asked to meet up. She told me that my ex had finally started to recover from the social trauma of coming out and building a new life with her, and that I was now getting in the way of their happiness. She accused me of being emotionless and uncaring through our divorce, and how I guilt-tripped her into agreeing to my demands of 50-50 custody, and how I should agree to the eventual adoption in a few years because she's always wanted a son, and that I will still remain my son's dad and I can still visit him. I told her that I didn't care what her emotional state was during the divorce and that my demands were fair even to the most irrational person. I told her that if they wanted to create this image of the perfect family, then they should have another kid that has no connection to me. All this has started to affect my son more than anything. He's more unhappy than he was just a few months ago, as we've started to adjust to this new reality. The emotional trauma of my ex coming out is basically the fact that her family effectively disowned her after coming out. Her parents don't talk to her anymore, while my son has plenty of interactions with his maternal grandparents when he's with me. Those 2 combined make significantly more money than I do alone. However, my ex-wife makes less money than me, but her partner is in a senior position, so she has more stability. This is also an argument my ex-wife used when we discussed adoption, since they can send our son to a private school and generally give him a better life. Am I the idiot for telling my ex-wife that her partner cannot be my son's mom? Not the idiot. Your ex is trying to erase you from your own son's life. Document this as much as possible in case they do attempt to file for adoption. You will have proof they're just trying to push you out for their own benefit. I would also get your son in therapy if possible. It must be so uncomfortable and difficult for him. Also, as a lesbian, you're not being homophobic. Your ex and her wife are cooked and need to touch grass. Agreed. Ex is trying to erase OP. She's also prepping for parental kidnapping with the mommy naming, Spanish lessons and adoption. Her affair partner lives in Spain. Next, they'll want a travel waiver from the State Department, and OP will never see his kid again. Vacation will be the excuse. When he mentioned that the new wife lives in Spain and that's where they were getting married, alarm bells started going off. OP, do not permit your ex to take him out of the States again. You may never get him back. Also, just in case, the son needs to know how to contact a US embassy and explain the situation. What the heck? They literally want to steal your son. Go nuclear, dude. They're going to play dirty, I promise you. Talk to your lawyer and tell him you want to get way aggressively ahead of this. Update number 1. Am I the idiot for telling my ex-wife that a partner cannot be my son's mom? It's been crazy seeing everyone's reaction to the situation, and I wanted to share a quick update with you all. First of all, I'd like to clarify that my son and I have been going to therapy since the divorce. He was doing quite well until the whole mom saga happened. My in-laws disowned her after she came out. They weren't even aware of the affair when she came out to them. They still spend time with my son under the condition that they don't badmouth my ex and don't preach their views to him. They agreed and said they valued a relationship with their grandson over any political view they might hold. I've been a part of every interaction they've had with him because I was worried they might say something. Thankfully, this has not been the case. Her extended family has said to me that they've all cut her off as well, some for the affair and some for her being gay. Our mutual friends also cut her off because of the affair. All our mutual friends were my work buddies and their spouses and partners. I didn't ask them to do anything, they made the decision on their own. I was glad when she told me that she'd made a friend on her own, as she used to complain about not liking her colleagues. We all know how that turned out. I'm pretty sure they're not planning to skip the country. I have all my son's documents, and we decided on them during the divorce because she was still figuring out where to go. Since I was moving in with my sister, their chances of being misplaced were low. I've also had no demands for any documents, and she returned the passport to me when we came back. The whole adoption thing probably stems from the fact that my son has a very close relationship with his mother. The only times he's really complained to me is when she asked him to call her partner Mom, and that she was making him do Spanish classes that he didn't want. We did everything for him equally during our marriage, but I had to travel out of state to my parents frequently during the global issue because they were sick with pre-existing conditions and couldn't take care of themselves. My sister was on an assignment abroad at that time. I listened to people and contacted my lawyer, also my friend, this morning. He told me the same thing as last time and that it would take something really unusual for the adoption process to go through, like child abandonment. He also said that they are a bunch of idiots who have no idea how the law works. He also told me that if the whole "we want to adopt him" is a real thing, and if she's talking crap about me to my son and I could prove it, I could get custody. This has not been the case, as I've not heard my son say that his mom says bad things about me. This brought me a sigh of relief. I plan to contact my ex today with the following conditions. We both install parenting apps and document all interactions. No more mention to my son or me regarding adoption or calling her partner Mom. No more posting images of my son as part of their perfect queer family, because frankly, I don't want my son's photos on the internet when he's so young, and he can decide what he wants when he's older. I plan to talk to my ex in a couple of hours. OP, bilingualism is good for the brain, opens some career doors. That's the only part of the whole thing I'll begrudgingly accept. The rest of it is a mess. While her emotions are valid, how she's handling them is horrible. She's literally using her son as a pawn, and any aversion she's receiving she genuinely believes is homophobia, rather than the fact she's genuinely being a terrible mother. You have every right to live your truth, but you cannot just erase the father of your child. I know this woman is seeking validation, especially in the face of being disowned, at least in part over her orientation, but forcing a mom title on a step-parent is wrong. Straight or gay, her happy family vibe is being forced on her kid, who clearly has some discomfort with it. She needs to work on the actual family part of it and not just focus on its aesthetics. You get a happy family vibe by being a happy family, not by posting on Instagram. Final update. Am I the idiot for telling my ex-wife that a partner cannot be my son's mom? I talked to my ex today. She was busy yesterday and I wanted some more time to gather my thoughts. When we met, I put forth my demands. She told me that the parenting app idea seems fine and that she has no problem with it. She got sad when I told her to drop the idea of adoption and calling her partner Mom, as it's just not going to happen. She told me that her family was pressuring her to settle down. I proposed after a year of dating and I didn't know this, and getting pregnant so soon after getting married was not what she had in mind. She got pregnant 1.5 years after getting married. Is that soon? I don't know. She told me that she was in the closet all her life because of her parents, that she thought marrying me would cause her feelings to subside, and that she was happy until she met her partner. She did go through postpartum depression after giving birth, but I didn't know that she didn't want to get pregnant so soon. She then told me that they, her wife and her, that the reason they wanted to adopt my son was because she wanted to start anew. She then said that she was never really happy during our marriage, and that she could have the family she always dreamt of having with her new wife. She didn't want my son to grow up to resent her for being a lesbian, as he doesn't have any exposure to people like her apart from her and her partner. I told her that this would not happen and that he had had a lot of exposure to people from her community. I told her that that seemed like a BS reason for separating my son and me, and that she was making up some random reason to make her seem like it was. After some arguing, she told me the real reason why she and her partner want to adopt my son is because her wife and she are considering moving to Spain in a few years. I told her that she couldn't do that, and that the legal framework supports me and my rights in both countries. She told me she knew this, and that's why they wanted to get me to sign adoption. I told her that she was crazy and that she in no way could do this, as she still needed my permission to take him out of the country as they did when they got married in Spain. She told me again that they'd done their research and that this was to see if I would agree. In case I agreed, they would consider moving, and in case I didn't, they wouldn't, because she didn't want to be separated from my son. I again emphasized that this wasn't going to happen, and that if she tried anything or said anything to my son, I would sue for full custody. She got sad again and told me that they wanted to check with me first. I told her, in what world would you expect me to give you and your wife full custody? First, you divorced me, left me for a woman, and then expected me to sign over my child and act like nothing happened. I told her from this point on we will document everything, every interaction we have, and that if I even get a whiff of you trying to pull something, I will sue for full custody. She got a bit scared at the idea of losing full custody if she didn't really consider me doing that, and she agreed. I then told her not to paint this picture of a picture-perfect queer family that they're trying to do, because that is not going to happen. Our son has a mom and a dad with whom he spends half his time, not two moms. He is not your affair partner's son. He is your son and mine. If you want a child with her, you can do so alone. I didn't want to argue anymore, and I left the room. I secretly recorded the conversation because I wanted to have proof in case anything happened in the future. I've been very angry at my ex since the divorce. I haven't shown it around her and my son because I don't want her to use this against me in any way, and I have been going to therapy, but I'm still internally angry. The comment she made today about our marriage really hurt me even more. When I got home, I contacted my lawyer friend again. I asked him if there was anything else we could do, and he said that the current agreement is very thorough. We've made sure of that. Whether I want full custody or not is up to me, but I have to be sure that I want to put my son through the whole process. I don't want my son to grow up without either of his parents, as that is just not healthy for him. That's why I won't sue for full custody now. If they're stupid enough to take him to Spain, I'm sure they are not. Then the law sides with me anyway. My ex-wife is still a good mother and loves him, and he enjoys spending time with her. Plus, my son is the type of person to openly voice out what he doesn't find okay to me, so I will know if they continue any of their nonsense. On a more positive note, I'm not against Spanish lessons, but he doesn't like them. I was suggesting that he try some language he likes. There are other languages out there. I didn't say it to my ex then, but I now know that she was trying to get him to learn Spanish because of the Spanish thing. Thank you to everyone for their support. It really helped me understand the problem. Still not the idiot, but you need to be on high alert. Your ex sounds like she's planning to leave and take your son with her. Once she's out of the country, getting him back is a legal nightmare. Advice: go for full custody. Exactly. I'm worried that OP's ex might try to pull something shady. If she takes him out of the country, that's going to be a nightmare. I feel for you and your situation. I'm going to be a horrid person here, also an ignorant person because I don't know exactly how they work, but is it possible to send an AirTag with him when he's away from you? I would be so concerned they would try to take off with him. I commend all your hard work trying to be fair despite your pain. Don't do an AirTag. If either of them has Apple products, they can detect it. Do put a tracker, but don't use Apple. It makes me sick when someone uses their coming out to paint their evil actions, cheating, lying, selfishness as good and proper, and like we all need to celebrate her. Nope. She wanted to erase her son's father completely from the picture just so she could play house and pretend. Sickening.